So that was 14 years ago. Tammy has led us to where we are now in the hygiene department. There are 7 hygienists currently working for us, not usually all at the same time. We'll show you more of that later. But it's a busy, busy department in our practice. And we developed this presentation because we felt that it was doing so well in terms of the way it runs, the way it melds with the dental side of things, that there were some things that we could share that may benefit other practices, especially when you consider how many practices out there the hygienists and the dentist are butting heads. I know, people talk about loss leaders and prima donnas and there's all those misnomers. We don't think we have any of those problems, and so hopefully today, in the next 2 hours, we're going to share some of those thoughts with you. All right, just as a quick disclaimer also, and we're getting to the meat of our project here in a second, everyone likes to know, are you being paid by anybody? The answer is no. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. If anyone wants to write me a check, go ahead. But we're not sponsored by any dental company or manufacturer. Any products or things that we may mention is because we use them and like them. Just so you know. Again, we're not here to challenge your standards. We're here to help you get a new creative way of thinking. It's not a shell game. If I say something that you disagree with, okay, we agree to disagree. Don't attack me, don't throw apples. But take an opportunity to consider that maybe it's something that could work in your practice. I don't know who it was anymore that said it. It's gone around the circuit so many times, but I think it was Dawson or somebody. If it's been done somewhere, it's probably possible. And so we're doing everything we're talking about. See if it helps for you.
So why'd we choose the name for our lecture? I think this slide speaks for itself, pretty obvious. Dennis, let's face it, you are very anal.
But compared to us, the planet Pluto, it's pretty far out there. Like all you hygienists. Now it's not even a planet anymore, is it? You've been decommissioned. All right. When we're talking about things in our office, you remember the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? That was the inspiration for this talk. And it seems to me that dentists and hygienists have different thoughts on subjects all the time as well. We might be talking the same words, but not have any clue what the other one means. So if I were to tell you that I paid $1,000 for an apple, you might think I was out of my mind. Yeah, too. Oh. Because if I paid $1,000 for that, that's crazy. But if I paid $1,000 for that apple, I might have a good bargain, depending what year it is. We needed a way to try to focus our efforts, try to make sure that when we communicate, we're communicating on the same page, about the same thoughts. So today we'll do some of that.
Pretty good.
All right, let's talk dental. Let's get a little bit more focused on what we're doing here in dentistry. Can you click it? Mm-hmm. Talk about trash mouth. People talk about things being rotten and messed up in someone's mouth. Well, what does that mean exactly? Let's take a case. I want you can close your eyes or look with me, whatever, but think about the proposition I'm going to make here. Think of a mouth. The centrals are twice as long and twice as wide as the laterals, totally violating the golden proportion rule. There's canines are half the size of the laterals. They're teeny. There's nothing to them. The 1 millimeter diastemas are everywhere. There's several mobile teeth, and the occlusion is all over the place. There is no occlusion to speak of. Do you have that in your mind? Everybody's got a pretty good mental picture? Well, here she is. Now, that's a perfect smile for that age. So when we describe trash mouths and we describe what's going on in someone, we always have to put that in context. We need to know exactly what is this person's whole self, what's going on with their whole mouth, not just some silly descriptors like 1 millimeter diastemas. That's perfect for this little girl. She's going to not even need ortho at this point. What about when we talk about perio? Some things we can work on. Some of you would send this to the periodontist. Some of you would take out the one tooth and save a couple more. Some would do root canals. There are different ways to attack each of these problems. So when we're talking between dentists and hygienists, Tammy and I had to get ourselves in sync with what is trashed and what isn't. I had to know what I thought, she had to know what I thought I could save, and I had to know what she thought she could save working on it. Sometimes they're hopeless. And we go from a full mouth that really doesn't look that horrible. I mean, I know there's some perio and there's some issues, but on the x-rays, there was no bone left, so they all come out. In our office, we play a little game of dental Yahtzee when all those teeth are gone.
It's very easy to lose focus on each other's orientations. Doctors, you're typically focused on restorative. Hygienists, we're typically focused on perio, oral hygiene, different things. We need to come together as a group. What do you know what? Do you guys do this? I get somebody in my chair and I do this. Oh, that excites me. I am so excited to see what this little guy, well, not little.
18 years old.
Yeah, yeah. He is affectionately referred to as Tapioca Boy. That's what we know him as for obvious reasons. Looking at that, and I don't know, doctors, what is the first thing you're thinking of when you look at this? You're thinking probably restorative needs. What can we do?
Root canals, crowns, bridges, right? He needs a bunch.
That's right. Hygienist, what do you think? First thing, oral hygiene. Let's get that plaque off of there. The kid didn't, I don't remember how long it was.
2 years.
And
he lost his toothbrush when he was 16, the one that his mom gave him for his birthday, to put you in perspective of their financial orientation. And so at 16, he lost his toothbrush and just stopped. Now he was 18. Hadn't brushed in 2 years.
And
by the way, he was working at McDonald's too. Don't you want to go have a hamburger?
Yeah, yeah. Very nice. So then, fast forward a little bit after treatment. What do you think? Doctors, is this a success or failure to you? Hygienists, what do you think? Is this a success or failure to you?
My crown and bridge looks awesome, but if you just brush his teeth, it might look a little better.
And hygienists, you're seeing probably the plaque buildup already on number 27. It's obvious he's not brushing his teeth, probably a little more frequently than he was. But yes, definite improvement, but a success? I don't know. I don't know if I'd go that far yet. Still some work to do.
Benefit to the practice, the real benefit is the hygiene cauldron. Again, that's a phrase that I'll borrow from Greg Stanley of Whitehall Management, one of my mentors, coaches me. The reason dentists can close their doors to new patients is because they have enough hygiene patients coming through that there's something that's either broken or needs a root canal every day in hygiene, enough to keep them busy. We've never closed our door to new patients, nor am I suggesting that, but that shows you a practice that has a very successful hygiene cauldron. It's all these fillings and crowns and root canals brewing in the pot, waiting to come in during their hygiene visit. So if you're a single hygienist seeing 8 patients a day or 9 patients a day working out of one room, your cauldron is not being stirred up to the surface as much as a hygienist and assistant seeing 15 to 16 patients a day. That's just the pure numbers of the game. It allows the dentist to have a real easy flow of patients. You don't need as many to keep your productivity up and to keep your practice going. So the hygiene cauldron is probably my biggest single reason above all else in terms of practice benefit for wanting to have a hygiene assistant there. There's always the question about, should we implement some of these ideas that we talked about today? You know, flowers just came to mind when I thought of how I was going to try to explain this concept. Hygienists, you may or may not be working with an assistant. You may have picked up on some things we're saying today, and you're saying, well, we'd like to implement some of those changes now. And you're going to go home and you encourage that. Put yourself in your doctor's head for a minute, because anything that we do in our practice takes time to unfold. And you know what scares us to death, us dentists, is that it's going to unfold poorly and that we've made a poor decision. And the problem is it's tough to undo, because it usually takes 6 months to recover as well. It's going to take 6 months until we can see the hygiene benefits, or lack thereof. The benefit was good in the end, thank God. You know, things did progress after 6 months. But those 6 months were horrendous, and I lost sleep during that period. And so anytime there's a decision to be made about hygiene or anything in the practice, I'm already thinking 6 months out. What is this going to do for the next 6 months? And at the end of those 6 months, how are things going to go? So again, here's my little quote. Practice like a flower, practice growth can take a very long time to nurture and grow. You see those flowers out on the vine, they're beautiful. I want to bring those flowers inside. I want to make a change to those flowers. I want to affect their growth pattern. I'm going to clip them. No problem. Look, they're all still beautiful. I can even put them in a vase over there on that side. They're still beautiful. But what happens a little while later? They die. And that took a while to figure out. And if it's the first time you ever clipped flowers, you wouldn't know about the death of the flower for maybe a week and a half, if you put some salt or sugar or whatever it is in there. Girls know these things. So, you know what disturbs me more than anything? There's a website for this. www.deadflorist.com. She's writing that down. You're sick. Roommates in dental school is a good friend of mine, still practices. His dad, when we were in dental school, had a conversation with us one night over dinner. He was down in town visiting. We went to dinner with him. And Scott asked him, he said, Dad, why is it that you succeeded so quickly in business? He was a vice president for Virginia Power, our state power company, and got there at a very early age. He said, Scott, one reason only, is what all leaders possess: the ability to make a decision and live with it.